Well, hello, everybody. It's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. It is roasting hot summer where I live right now, and that's really quite unusual in the Pacific Northwest. Really high temperatures. So, the thing about the summer is often it gets people a little bit closer to some of their fears around body image because we naturally wear a lighter amount of clothing in our culture. You can go around with shorts and bathing suits and tank tops and have your body and your skin be more exposed just to get away from the heat. And you might even be in the water and at the lake and at the beach and at the river. So not all of us are prone to that or have that available to us, but hot weather does make, no matter what, for an opportunity to expose the body more in most societies. And this sometimes brings up some of the feelings about shame around the body or discomfort, or even just thinking in small terms that we need to lose 10 pounds or lose 25 pounds or kilos. And the concern for making things look just right. Here it comes again. Here it comes again. This has made it so that I've received some emails and people saying that they don't really want to wait till November for the Eating Peace immersion program that happens when we usually, connect and really begin to look deeply at the underlying beliefs and underlying issues around eating off balance, as I like to call it, not really disordered eating, although it is, but eating that just seems to be of greater concern than it needs to be, from that small level up to just a much greater obsession, and anywhere in between. But people have said they don't want to wait till November, and doing it through those winter and spring months like we usually do in the northern hemisphere. So I am doing a shorter program, and it's starting this week. We'll meet on Tuesday mornings Pacific time, and only every other week, because I have a pretty full schedule and there's some times that I can't meet. But we'll meet 6 times, the last time being October 4th. And if you're a super beginner in wanting to understand the relationship between, even how to get to these underlying beliefs within and to look at those battles using self-inquiry, we're going to do it. So the very first thing, and I suppose you don't even have to be brand new. You might even know the work of Byron Katie really well. You might have been familiar with Janine Roth and been exposed to really answering questions that are very profound and powerful about what's going on in a moment of compulsion, or what's going on when you feel you just must go on a diet. You have to get to that other version of you. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's a interesting balance that can happen here. That can happen in today, now, in this moment. If we couldn't find something now, here, in this moment, that was peaceful, then of course it would feel very, very hopeless. And I know some people do. I used to feel very hopeless regularly when it came to food and eating and the way my body was. But so we are going to have a shorter, just introductory class for those of you that feel like, I can't wait till November. I need something sooner, and I want to gather in a small support system to begin to take a look without going on a diet. Now, that does not mean that you don't find some sense of structure for yourself around a food plan or a psychology plan when it comes to your eating. At the very beginning of this intro course, I ask people to send me their idea for what kind of structure works for them. And some people have a very specific idea that they already know is in place. Like, I'm a vegan, I eat 3 meals a day with 1 snack. I never eat sugar. I never eat dairy. I'm gluten-free. Some people, their structural plan that really, really works for them in a great and deep support is to follow something really quite specific. There's nothing wrong in a way with measuring your food if you feel like you've been completely chaotic and wildly out of control and you just don't even know where to start. Help! And you want something really quite structured. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it can be a very great teaching, occasion for yourself to see your relationship with that. And if your plan or structure idea is to deeply study, like if where you'd like to be is without compulsion, or without acting on your cravings and simply leave it at that, that works too. Sometimes we just don't even know. I don't even know where to start anymore. What I do recommend is to begin to look at what the thoughts are and what our feelings are that we have when we're in the presence of food or when we're in the presence of stress, because often eating is stress eating. It's like food has become medicine. It's medicine for our loneliness and heartache and anxiety, fear, or a sense of powerlessness, being out of control. And that can happen in so many different ways, believing that you need to do XYZ to be a successful person, and it's all about doing something. I still have that. I watch myself beginning to believe that I need to work to get something done, not work until my body and my mind and my heart and my soul are ready to take a break. So I can push through. It's like that press on kind of feeling. So what we're really deeply studying, even though I opened the invitation at the beginning of an intro course to have people share with me where they think they should be when it comes to food and eating, what their perfect eating day would be like, and to send it to me as like, kind of a dream in the mind, a goal, a wish, a desire. Nothing wrong with having that. I mean, it's what the mind is brilliant at doing, formulating alternatives to what is here right now in reality. But having said that, we then begin to study why we don't have that experience of ease when it comes to food and eating. Sometimes it can be because you expect yourself to be starving or so thin. When it comes to that body, you want your body to look like something out of a magazine in a bathing suit in the summer. And maybe your body is just never going to look quite like you think it should. My ideas about dieting became more off balance as I entered teenage years. I had some things in place already just by watching the people around me and how they felt about heavy set people, too thin people, food and eating, and that you were good if you finished your plate. I had some of those things running, but they still didn't create an eating disordered person, somebody who was eating completely off balance or really thinking completely off balance. The place that began for me was when I got more and more serious about feeling shameful when it came to my body and how it looked, how it appeared. And my quick conclusion, age 14, was that I need to restrict the food that I'm eating. I need to plan and diet and get motivated and use willpower and kind of crunch down on my life as an eater so that my body would change and it become thinner. So it was all about losing weight, losing this body, having things, become smaller. And some of these things are really worthy of questioning because I spent a decade with a really whacked out, kind of screwed up thinking and great anxiety because I had starved myself so often. It just started swinging. Instead of staying sort of in a middle place where you check in with your body and the beautiful messages it has for you. Time to eat. You're getting hungry. Time to stop. You're getting full. Okay to wait. You don't need anything right now. It's okay to wait another while. It's kind of not on clock time, body time. So getting back more into body time, but I spent all those years completely out of body time, more like in the mind time. My mind was driving everything. My mind was interested in the end result and how much the scale said I should weigh, how I should show up and look when surrounded by other people, and especially in the hot summertime on a beach somewhere. My mind had the ideas, and it was in charge. It was running the show. I did not allow my body to be here. And of course, what happens when you put some things in the dungeon and lock it up with a big key ring and then leave it down there for long periods of time? There's parts of you then, at least I certainly found that begin to be very lonely and very starved and very in the dark and pushed away. And these were many of my feelings and my emotions and my sense of joy, my sense of connection, and guilt-free life, more of a childlike innocence. They were all gone when it came to food and eating, and cravings began to be stronger and more intense and fighting to tell me something that I didn't want to hear, that I was too afraid to listen to. So no one has to join in this upcoming program. We're going to meet every other Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, audio. We might use Zoom. We'll see what happens. Your choice. But we'll only meet every other week. And we'll connect in with really doing inquiry, this deep self-inquiry work, so that we question the beliefs that appear that are very stressful. What's nice is I love that despite all the extreme behavior and swinging from one end of the scale to the other and being so concerned about fullness and heaviness and thinness and starvation and kind of diet mentality, despite all of that, a compass has stayed alive in here the whole time that always can tell me that I am stressed. And then I found also that it always can tell me where the body is at and if the body needs a break or needs to rest or is actually hungry in need of food or is not, or needs a drink of water. So you, I know, can have this compass as well. And often that starts with just our emotional life. When we've sort of been compulsive about something, like food and eating or getting the body just right, there's definitely an emotional life. And I find we can make friends with it. You just see what it is we're thinking. So I wanted to share with you all today what I'll be sharing with people in the first class, which starts this very Thursday. And that is a file that you can download. So I'll put it right here. It's underlying beliefs that appear in compulsion, eating compulsion, and dependency. So I'm really addressing emotional dependency. And don't think of dependency as being a bad word. We think, oh my God, it's so important to be independent. Let's be strong and independent and steady and powerful and rooted. All very good things. But I like the idea of being interdependent much more. And my dependence on eating food, on smoking, really on thinking and my thoughts and my mind, they have led me to the most amazing and difficult, hard, but life-altering inquiries and changes and connections with people, and studying honesty and really love. So dependency is a stepping stone to the love that we're seeking. I certainly have found that it's made it all accessible to me in a way that I just couldn't see before. All I could see was this dark and terrible sickness of being crazy with food and eating. And I just thought something was terribly wrong with me. But we can start today, even if you never do self-inquiry and you can't find yourself doing the work of Byron Katie or studying or keeping a journal like I sometimes invite us all to do. You can start today with questioning that there's something wrong with you. Is that actually true? Can you absolutely know there is something wrong with you? Like there's something missing? Were you born with this eating compulsion born with you? Was it there when you were a baby? I can't find that to be true. When you were a young child, did it exist? Was there something missing, Were other humans made whole, but you had something missing when it came to food and eating? Was there something really wrong with you then? What I find is I just can't answer that question. Yes, that's absolutely true. I'm sure that's the case. It seems like it was learned. It kind of developed. There were little flashes that I had along the way of seeing something wrong with food and eating or something a little off, but it really started to kick in later, when life was already underway. I was not born with it. It was beginning to be something that I learned, something that I took in, and a way that I adapted to life. It was the best I could do, and it's the best I know any one of you could do so far. So it's been of service in a certain way, which I know sounds, oh my God, crazy, but it's true. I just think we're doing the best we can. That's what I've noticed with all the people that I've worked with, as well as myself in this compulsion, experience of compulsion. So who would you be without the thought there is something wrong with you, especially when it comes to eating and food and body? And it doesn't mean you just drop the whole thing and let yourself be someone who overeats constantly or tries to starve yourself or is way overweight, if that's your experience. You don't have to settle in to what isn't really working. It doesn't mean that, but it's just who would you be without the very deep thought that there is something wrong with you. It's very liberating. And maybe even you can find a little compassion for the person you've been or the responses you've had to life. And then, of course, the last step in inquiry, is it true? Noticing how you react, who you are when you believe something, and then who would you be without this thought? The very last step is we turn it around. Let's just try it on the complete opposites and just see. They don't have to be true. They may or may not be. They may not fit. But this one, the opposite, is there is something right with me. And that is why I have responded and eaten the way I have. That is why I have done something with food that looks pretty crazy. That's why I was binge eating, and that's why I was throwing up my food, and that's why I was getting on the scale or checking labels like crazy or doing any of these things that seemed obsessive, because there was something right with me, not something wrong with me. I was believing my thoughts and trying to find something that I thought was missing in the moment. And I wasn't really able to see what was possible. I was operating on emergency mode. I had tons of fear and a sense of powerlessness and a deep, deep worry about lonesomeness and loneliness. And so food was a medicine for me, and it carried me through some hard times. It's no longer necessary, and I can even question that, whether it actually did carry me through. So we can just keep looking with inquiry, though. But I would say, first and foremost, one thing that can be very, very generous to give yourself is the gift of just being for 5 minutes quietly with this idea that there's nothing wrong with you, no matter how you've eaten, no matter what you've done with food. That in fact, to look at it from this perspective, that there's been something you've just been seeking or you've been adapting to or working with or trying to find, and it's been very natural, something in a natural way, natural order of things that just because you didn't know any other possibility. And we can undo those thoughts because we can just question them. They wind up dissolving as we apply inquiry. So if you'd like a list of underlying beliefs that tend to show up in all kinds of compulsive, addictive processes, I kind of say addictive processes because the word addiction can have a huge variety of definition, but all the different ways people do use compulsive behavior to calm down or, seek something or kind of relax themselves. So not even just food and eating, in other words. But I'll share with you this list of many different thoughts and beliefs that I've heard and I've experienced myself in my life that seem to be wrapped up in kind of that sense of dependency and compulsion and being lost in the mind and in the feelings that lead to compulsive behavior. And you can take those through inquiry yourself. So I share them freely with you. We're going to be looking at them more in the upcoming group. And I'd love to have you. It's a small group. I've hardly mentioned it at all. Finally mentioning it today with so much going on this summer, but we're still going to start. And everything will be recorded, all the phone calls. And then we'll be sharing online together, just via email and some other ways. So join me if it's right for you and you don't really want to wait until November for the full-on Eating Peace immersion process. And even if you just want to only take this intro and nothing else, then send me an email or connect to the link below so that you can just sign up. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Take good care. Let me know how it goes.